Economist here. Got some soup today. Went and purchased my lunch. I've been trying to bring my lunch lately, but today I purchased the soup from the co-op. We got this Egyptian red lentil soup. So, that's pretty good. Super hot. Oh my gosh. It's very hot. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about the possible recession coming in 2023. I left a link down there in the description for you guys to a CNN article. I'm not much into CNN or Fox or really any of the mainstream, except for CNBC. I do follow quite a bit on CNBC just because they talk so much about the economy, but I'm really not much of a CNN fan. But the opinion piece that is linked down in the description of this video, I thought was pretty good, talking about the recession that could possibly be coming in 2023. Now, a lot of people look at the Federal Reserve and their monetary policy of lifting interest rates as having an impact on the economy, but it's not going to happen right away. And this is something that we have talked about quite a bit. Now, the overall effect on the market and their perception will occur right away from the news coming from the Federal Reserve. But the actual monetary policy and the impact that it has on the economy takes a long time. It takes 6 months to a year, even 2 years down the road before you really feel the effects of it. And that's where I think a lot of people are going to be pointing at the Federal Reserve saying, look at their monetary policy and what it's doing to the economy right now. And mainly what's going to happen is that come the end of March, there's going to be two things occurring at the same time. We're going to have the Federal Reserve raising their interest rates to try and cap the inflation that has taken place, the price inflation. And it's going to work because at the exact same time, we are going to have a lot of the economy opening back up again. And now I know a lot of places have already kind of lifted all the mandates and restrictions and everything that's happening, but it's going to be on a much broader scale. It's going to be pushed out there into the mainstream media that this is what's happening out there. In fact, you can already see a lot of the articles coming out. I mean, I was reading on how even places like Israel is now opening up their borders to unvaccinated, travelers and stuff like that. So these are the type of things. That was one. What was it? Google was another one that they are going to lift a lot of their vaccination requirements as far as coming back to the office to go to work. I have to think about all the poor individuals who got fired for not getting vaccinated and now, or had to, switch jobs or whatever because they were just not allowed to come back to the office. But now these things are going to reverse and people are going to, not have to have this requirement anymore. It's a bummer. I mean, that really is disruptive to a lot of people's lives. And now I understand, there was the other argument towards it, meaning trying to protect everybody or whatever that kind of argument is. Obviously, the vaccinations didn't work. I know so many people who were fully vaccinated with boosters and still got COVID. So, to say that the vaccinations worked, I don't know exactly what they were supposed to do other than maybe hold back on how much somebody actually got sick. I mean, how bad the infection really was. But from what I was gathering from all the people that I have talked to, and it's anecdotal, but it wasn't that bad. I knew a few people who had passed away after they had got COVID, but they were, I would say they were already in a compromised position anyway. They were elderly, smoked, overweight, stuff like that, had bad heart conditions. So anyway, enough about that, but moving on towards what this monetary policy is really going to be like. Really, I think it's going to be more of the market's idea of what is happening that's going to be more noticeable right away from the Federal Reserve lifting of interest rates. But really, it's going to be the economy opening up. People are going to start going back to the gym. They're going to be going out to the restaurants more. There's going to be a lot more activity when it comes to the things that people had avoided because of social distancing. Those things are going to start coming back into more economic activity. And people are going to be, spending a lot of money on those type of things. the idea that there's going to be a lot of purchases and consumable items and stuff like that. I honestly feel that a lot of that stuff is probably going to start backing off as far as the amount of purchases being made, just simply because the prices are moved up. When the economy starts to free up and those supplies start becoming more available, the shelves start filling up and they're not as empty anymore, the prices may not come down right away. So the economic activity that is going to be taking place is probably going to slow down, especially when you got, worries of things like, what's happening in Ukraine, or energy prices, or just the availability of like food products. I think that's going to be the more concern, like securing your food as opposed to getting the best deal on a TV or something like that. Anyway, I guess those were some of the things that I wanted to bring up and kind of talk about. What are you guys discussing here? All right, 158 of you guys, right on. Thank you very much for joining the live stream. If you haven't already hit the like button, please go over there and hit the like button, because it really helps to get the algorithms, out there, pushed around. I'm going to be out here for another 25 minutes to 40 minutes or so, depending on how into it we get here. But it really helps out with getting the video spread around there. So appreciate it very much. Okay, let's see what some of you guys are saying here. When the West are bred to be Uber consumers, we in the West are bred to be Uber consumers. We are going to be. A lot of people ask about, like, that whole idea that you'll own nothing and be happy. That's happening there, and you can see, like, when people would rather just take Uber rides than to own their own vehicle, that's the you will own nothing and be happy. Or if you do own a vehicle, you're going to have to use it to make money with, because otherwise it's just going to be so expensive you just won't even want to own a vehicle. At least that's kind of what I see, the you'll own nothing and be happy idea. That's what it's going to come down to. Ultimately, owning nothing is probably going to be the most common thing out there. What's not going to be common is going to be the capitalist who lends into that system. Now, those people, they're going to be up there higher, watching down on everybody who's like not owning anything and being happy. Being the capitalist, that's the position that I want to push towards. I want to be able to put my money towards something that pays me back, where I don't have to work a lot. Because really, when it comes to people who live independently, if you go and you read Cantillon's stuff, it's the prince, whoever the hell that is now, the property owner, and the capitalist. Those are the three people who will live independently. Everybody else has to work for the state or something. All right, 200 of you out here. Thank you so much. Remember, hit that like button for me, guys. Thank you. This bidding war in North Carolina, how do you feel about the energy crisis? I see it coming. I see the energy costs going up. But again, like what I have said before, I don't see this having as much of an impact on what a lot of people are thinking. Like, they think the energy cost going into items is going to cause all the items to go up. Like, whether it's building a house to, building cars, or just transporting things. All this energy cost going into these items is going to drive it up. But on top of that, what you end up also having is that people have to spend more money on this energy. That means they have less money to spend on the items and goods and services out there. So although it'll cause the prices to go up, it'll also cause the economic activity to go down. At least that's how I see it. Okay, why pay taxes? Stop funding those who seek to control you. Terrorists. Look at your government. Power to the people. Yeah. Modern kings and royalty equals CEO and executives. Yeah, that's about right. What do you recommend? Gold, land, or stocks? I don't do investment advice. That's not what this channel is about. The channel is for gathering information so that you can make the best decisions for you personally. What it is that I do with my money is going to be far different from what you need to do with yours. Now, as far as owning gold, land, or stocks, I personally am more into owning gold, simply because it is going to be a lot easier to deal with. If you need to have a little bit of purchasing power from your land, you need to go and take out like an equity loan or something like that in order to have the money from your land without actually selling it. But when you have gold, or at least gold and silver and fractional, like you don't have whole ounces, but maybe 10th ounces or something like that. You can break these things up into smaller pieces and sell it off. And not that I suggest it, but you could even sell it off like on the black market, under the table to a friend's, trade it, and nobody really has to know about that transaction. So it's also pretty quiet as far as like comparing it to like say the stock market. With that being said, I do purchase stocks, I do own precious metals, and now that I have a house, I guess I'm buying some land as well, although it's not very much property. It is a decent little piece, and I'm trying to enjoy it without being too stressed about what's going to take place here in the housing market. Um, Ultimately, like the Federal Reserve and their monetary policies, like I said, that's probably going to slow the economy down come 2023. And the one of the things that I see that might be an issue going into 2023 as far as keeping the inflation expectation or the inflation to consumable items, whatever, going up, is the labor. Like there's still a lack of available people to go to work, and I just like this blows me away. I would have figured this would have ended a long time ago, but really when you think about it from a demographics issue, and that a lot of people during the pandemic and everything who were close to retirement went ahead and retired, like they got out of the game, and so those people are not coming back in. And then at the same time, there wasn't a lot of training taking place during the pandemic to fill in some of the jobs that are out there. But it's really not even that. It's just more, I feel that it's the demographics issue. I think it's more of a conditioning of the people that really just don't want to strive to acquire the things that you would need a job for. Like, if you wanted to buy a house, if you wanted to buy a car, if you wanted to have all these things, then you need a job in order to acquire all those things. But if really it's just a matter of just being, just like, you really don't need that much, especially if you're living in mom's basement or something like that, then you really don't need much. So the ambition to even go out there and work to try and acquire the things that you would need to pay bills for, they're not interested. I just don't see why they would even want to do it. So, all right, moving on here. Bitcoin is the best asymmetrical asset to ever come along in our lifetime. Yeah, I own quite a bit of cryptocurrencies. In fact, I probably own more in cryptocurrencies than I do anything else right now, even after the substantial drop. But I've been buying into cryptocurrencies for years and years and years. Like, I don't know. I mean, I got a Coinbase account back when, like, I think Coinbase was like even 6 months old. Like, I mean, it was like early on that I started buying in. And I ended up like losing a bunch to a crooked exchange called Crypsy, which was, I mean, when I say I lost a bunch, at the time it wasn't that much money, but it was a lot of cryptos. Like it was, I forget, it was well over 100,000 Doge I had at Crypsy. That basically they were a fraudulent exchange, and one day I just couldn't log in anymore, and then it was over. I didn't have any more coin with them. So I learned my lesson by sending your coins off to faulty exchanges or, fraudulent exchanges. You got to be very careful on who it is that you're going to be storing your cryptos with if you don't store it on your own private wallet. Not that I'm trying to advertise for Coinbase or anything, but they've been in the game quite a while, and I feel somewhat safe keeping my cryptos with them. But I don't keep the whole stash with them. I do keep a lot of it in a private wallet as well, just to make sure that I have secured the keys. That's the other thing, guys. Please secure, if you're going to hold your cryptocurrencies in a private wallet, learn to secure those keys. I have like the majority of the keys, the private keys, to an Ethereum wallet, but I lost like the last 12 digits, and I cannot get into this Ethereum wallet to send the tokens or whatever. And there's quite a bit of Ethereum in there, or in tokens too. So I don't go and look at it anymore because it just depresses me on how much is in there. But it's a lesson well learned that you need to secure those private keys. Okay, let's see here. Do you hold or trade crypto? Yes. I don't trade though, I just buy. What happens if China and Russia move away from petrodollar after Russia is dropped payment system? Yeah, that's going to be a pretty interesting one right there. Ultimately, on the grand scheme of things, there's still the whole global world reserve currency that is going to be done in US dollars. But the idea that Russia and China are now setting up that trade where they're going to be doing it within their own, like, respect, their own currencies, their own, like, SWIFT systems, so to speak, like their own, I guess, form of like doing settlement. Once that becomes more well established in China, who is like going around the world investing in different countries like Argentina and Africa and, I forget where else I was reading, like places like Pakistan. China is everywhere. Like, China is involved in a lot of stuff. And when I think about, like, when it comes to doing trade or world trade, really it starts off with a small issue. Well, it's not a small issue, but it's small comparatively. That starts it off, like what you got Russia and China. And now they're doing the SWIFT system. Pretty soon there's going to be other countries who are going to be joining in on that. If the United States keeps pushing the idea that they are going to sanction countries or make it difficult for them to do trade, and then there's this other trading possibility out there, this other way of doing settlements, that they don't have all these restrictions, well, then they're going to start moving towards that. And so this is really where you're going to start seeing a lot more hot wars coming from it. I mean, ultimately it comes from currency wars leading into trade wars, which leads into real wars. I mean, this is something like Gerald Celente has talked about many times. And you can see it now taking place. I mean, it's all a matter of time before systems begin to collapse. And the United States has managed to hold it together for the most part, but there's no reason to think that system won't collapse at some point in the future too. How long that takes, that's going to be another question. Like, it seems like it happens a lot faster than it really does, but then again, it could take off like right away, and then, like, the collapse can happen overnight seemingly. I don't honestly think that will happen, but anyway, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, it's happening. I mean, but at what speed or to what scale, that would be the bigger question to it. All right, let's see here. What's next? Reality is the next boom. Yeah, that's for sure. People are finally going to start waking up. That's just like, like I've said in the past, I kind of related drugs and debt to the same thing. When you're high on debt, it's like being high on drugs, and there's no running, like, common sense during that time, because you end up spending more money than you should. You're doing things that you normally wouldn't behave like. It's the same thing. Drugs and debt are very much the same. Right on. 17 minutes into this, 369 viewers. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for being here. Who is selling gold at a time where there is threats of war and out of control inflation? Cheating market manipulators must be eliminated. Money printers go brr. Climate control chemtrails keeping us in on weekends. I can't go fishing. Yeah, that's a bummer. No one knows about this complex economy to give a prediction. That's, or probably not an accurate prediction. We can only just assume from some of the things that we know or that we have learned, and try and come up with the best case, best possible case that's going to come. I mean, that's how you kind of work these things. Nobody can predict the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, hell, I could tell you 5 years ago what my ideas of what the future was going to look like, and it did not look like anything like this. Like, you know what I mean? All right. Let's see here. No logical reason for gold to be 1900. What should it be at? Should it be at like 10,000, 20,000? Do you hold silver, and do you think it will ever catch up to gold? Yes I do, and yes I do. Really, I thought about this quite a bit. When it comes to silver and the ownership of silver, very few people take possession of silver. Like, I could go around and talk to all my coworkers and talk to everybody I know and ask them how active they are in purchasing silver or silver bullion right now, and most of them would probably say not at all, like none. So when you take the idea that there is, what, I don't even know how many annual ounces are produced, what, something like 800 million, something like that. Yeah, 800 million ounces, I think, is somewhere around the annual production of silver. And there's 320 million people in America, right? If everybody in America decided that they were going to go out and get like just 2 ounces or 3 ounces of silver, just the United States, right? Everybody in the United States was going to run out and get just 3 ounces of silver, less than $100 worth today. It would completely wipe out a world supply, right? The world manufacturing of silver, the world production. Just if the United States was to go out and the citizens of the United States, the people, to buy 3 ounces. That doesn't include like Canada, Mexico, China, India, all of the European nations, all those places. If they decided that they were just going to go out and get 1 ounce of silver, it would completely wipe out the entire world production. Like, gone. Okay. Now, when you consider that half of like the silver goes to industrial use, that gets consumed and like basically thrown away, that leaves very little silver out there to purchase. That puts silver in a very unique position. That if anybody ever, well, not if anybody, but if people began to catch on that they needed this silver in their physical possession, the price could easily go past gold, in my opinion. All right, let's see here. Yes, and watch a video called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. What a wake-up call. So it looks like my, it's kind of funny, the coin guy just showed up here, Scott, the guy I buy all my coins from. He just pulled up alongside of me. And he's what's
super chat
for the super chat? Hold on, let me spin this around. So there he is. He just dropped a $10 bill on my windshield. I guess it was for the super chat. He must have been watching at a shop or something. Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate it, man. That was really cool of you. And good timing too, right? As we were talking about silver. So now I need to go over to a shop and make a purchase. So if you're ever in Astoria and you're looking for a place to pick up some bullion or just go and look at coins and talk shop, go check out Clatsop Coin. What is he on 12th Street? On 12th Street here in Astoria. So that was really cool of him. That's a great dude. Yeah, he is. All-nighter. Scott is a really good dude. I'm really glad I know him. All right. Oh, and a super chat. Who sent me that? $5. Where's that at? There we go. Miles. China owns much of Canada and its commodities. How is this not a danger to us? I think it's probably what that was. Yeah, I think it is a danger. I think China, like, you have to think, like, remember when everybody talked about the United States being this awesome country that we produced all this stuff and sold it to the world and we lent more money to the world? Think about that. That's like where China is today, right? China's producing more and lending that money out to the world. Like, they're investing in art, like we just talked about it, Argentina and Africa and all these places around the world. This is what China is doing, is they're securing their position there. They're going to be a world dominating force. I mean, it's happening here. Thanks. Another super chat from Christian Smith. Thank you so much. Everyone is concerned with externalities. How many people have water, food, land, health, guns? I think people should concentrate on self-reliance, in my opinion. Absolutely. I think being self-reliant, and then if there's things that you just simply don't have the skills for, or you're not understanding of it, you got to make friends, right? What is the best way? Network with people that you do know who can provide the things that you can't get. And that's like, to me, that's like where the survival really comes in, is to be able to, to know and have that network to provide for you the things that you can't do for yourself at the time. But then you also have to have this in a reciprocal fashion, meaning that you got to be there for those other people as well, to be able to provide for them at the time that they need with your skills and stuff. That's the type of survival thing that happens. Like, a lot of people know that my wife can. So if they come up with like they go out fishing and they have a great time out there fishing, all of a sudden they have like 100 pounds of fish and they don't know what to do with it. You can call my wife and she will process all that fish up and it'll be in jars by the end of the day because she's really good at it. She knows it. And there's a lot of people around here who could do that. But that's the type of networking and skills that you have. I mean, you might be really good at catching fish, but you like processing fish, you may not have like the greatest idea or the skills or the equipment or anything to do it. So that's where you hook up with somebody who does have that kind of thing going on. And to me, that's going to be like the better position to be in as far as anything. That's the best prepping that you can do, is to find those people who are really good at what they do and network with them and be good, and share the skills with them. All right. When do you think inflation will drop to the 3 or 4% level? That's that's going to be a hard one to predict. It's going to just keep an eye on the supply chains, right? I mean, once these things start to free up, once the shelves start to fill back up again, once the shortages and lead times start to drop back down, then you're going to start seeing the prices begin to stabilize and stop moving up as much. I mean, you think about it, inflation is the continual rising of prices, like nonstop. They're never going to stop. And if you're at 7% interest on an inflation, I mean, you think about it, that's going to be doubling prices at least every 10 years, right? Or however you want to predict it. That will be like an unsustainable thing. Now, granted, there's going to be a lot of people who are saying, well, we've had prices double in just a year or even less than that. You have to think about like how it is that they're judging this inflation and how far back you want to go to come up with this price inflation that's happening. It's not occurring in every single item out there. It occurs in a lot of things that you have to take out loans for, like cars and houses and things that are in limited supply. But the things that are not in limited supply, the prices really haven't changed much. I'm still keeping an eye on the 15-pound felt, which is still at the $32 that it's been for the last 5 years. I imagine that will change soon. I mean, it has to. Everything else has gone up. The energy costs gone up. Everything's gone up. So it has to eventually find its way into the things that haven't moved up either. However, the Federal Reserve, when they go into their monetary tightening and they start raising interest rates and they start allowing the balance sheet to roll off, when they allow that balance sheet to roll off, that is money coming back to the Federal Reserve. And unless they roll that into new debt by buying treasuries or mortgage-backed securities or something else with it, if they don't do anything, they just allow the maturities to roll off their balance sheet, that cash comes back to the Fed and gets destroyed. That is deflation, the destruction of money and credit. How long it takes for that to have an effect on the actual economy and prices and stuff, who knows? That's going to take a year or so to go down the road. And then what's going to happen there? Is war going to heat up even more and have even more supply chain shortage issues? And, I mean, who knows what can take place? I mean, everything going on over there with Russia and the Ukraine, I mean, that could all be gone here in 6 months. I doubt it, but it could be gone in just, a matter of months, and then people won't be concerned with that anymore. If that continues to escalate, then it's going to have a major impact on the rest of the world's supply, especially when it comes to agricultural products like, wheat and stuff. Ukraine is a major producer of this stuff, and I would imagine that it's going to have an impact on it. In fact, I found a decent article that was talking about it. Once this live stream is over, I'll go find that article and I'll link it down in the description for you guys. It came out of actually like a agricultural like online publication or something, but it was really good. It talked a lot about the effects of the Ukrainian-Russian situation going on. So anyway, what's next here? Let's talk. Oh man, you guys, a lot of comments in here. 438 of you, so awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's see here. Sun2 says, if you go to war with the population, while the population is poor or is forced to pay more than they make, is sure to lose more than just the war. Something like that. No, I can believe it. Yeah, I mean, you go into a major conflict without any money, and then, yeah, you're going to have, even harder times trying to fund yourself to try and even fight, and then you have nothing left for resources. So, yeah, I can see that. All right. Usually the curve inverts after rate hikes. That's not the case this time. How are they going to fix it by lowering rates when they are not even up yet? I don't think the yield curve has actually inverted yet, right? I mean, I saw the 20-year and the 30-year have inverted as far as the yield goes on that, but the tall, like the benchmark one, the 2-year and 10-year, that is flattening. It's getting close, but I don't think it actually inverted yet, right? Or did it? I mean, did it do it for a short time and I missed it? But it seems like there's still quite a bit of a spread between those two yields as far as like it is flattening, but it hasn't inverted yet. Once it does invert, yes, that is the sign of it. But a flattening yield curve shows major concern as far as I'm looking at it. Like, like, yeah, the possibility is happening here, and everybody's kind of predicting it by this yield curve, flattening. As far as the short end of the maturities, the yield that they pay is starting to rise. The investor is demanding more for it because they are nervous about tying their money up for the short term. Now, I agree with that, all that stuff taking place. What we don't know quite yet is the effects that are going to take place from a global slowdown, people getting panicky from war, people getting panicked about, global recessions or something like that. And next thing you know, you have people actually flooding into the United States to try and find that safe haven. That can actually drive the yields back down again, just simply from people just pouring in, trying to get out of whatever risky position that they happen to be in at the time, and try and find something that's closer to cash and closer to the United States. That's where you can see, like, even though the Federal Reserve is stepping away from the purchases of U.S. Treasuries, we could find buyers out there trying to get into the U.S. Treasury at that same time. I doubt that'll happen. Like, most likely, what you're probably going to see is a lot of sell-off in the U.S. Treasury, but that's not because people are trying to get out of the U.S. Treasury. It's because people are trying to get more into a position of cash. And that's what I feel like. A lot of people will look and say, look at all this global, like, sell-off of U.S. Treasuries. But what they hardly say is look at the demand for cash that they are asking for. That's really like, something that I feel is a bigger case that people should probably be looking into. All right, hey, another super chat, right? People just yell at their TV screens while doing nothing. They parrot their favorite politicians and do nothing. Where is personal responsibility? Yeah, I do hear a lot of rhetoric. Like, people will try and tell me about a particular situation or something, and it sounds just like a politician on TV or something. And I'm thinking, did you come up with this own idea yourself, or is this something that you're just trying to, repeat that you have heard? That's one of the reasons why I turned off a lot of the other YouTubers out there. Not that they don't have really good information. I mean, they do. There's some really good YouTube economic channels out there that are well worth following. I personally had stepped away from it when I was growing my channel, simply because I was trying to make sure that I was coming up with my own content, with my own thoughts, with my own ideas of what is going on here in the economy, and not just be parroting somebody else. And I find a lot of people will do that. And when I wanted to be true to myself, so I read news articles, I read Federal Reserve speeches, and I will watch the occasional YouTuber out there. Just, but that's pretty much it. And I feel that it has really given me, like, my own ideas of what is happening here that is unique from a lot of what other people are saying. So I mean, that's how I do it anyway. All right, guys, I got about 3 more minutes here, and then I gotta go. The Fed's real job is to make a faith-based currency until faith runs out, and then switch course. Yeah, I mean, it is all about confidence. That is absolutely true. If the people lose confidence in the dollar, if the globe loses confidence in the dollar, it's gone. That's it. There's nothing there because it's not backed by anything. I mean, ultimately, if you do have cash, like a Federal Reserve note, then you could take that note from the issuing bank, whether it's, whatever Federal Reserve Bank issued it. If they go bankrupt, you can use it as a first lien and paramount right to their balance sheet, which has gold and SDRs at the top of the list. The chances of you actually being able to achieve the ability to get your gold or SDRs or whatever from from that Federal Reserve note when that bank collapses is probably very unlikely. But ultimately, there is some sort of backing to the Federal Reserve note when you think about it in such fashions. All the rest of the numbers in the bank and on the screens and all that other stuff, that's completely, that's all confidence. That is like completely imaginary and only exists because we allow it to. All right, guys, I got one more question here, and then I'm gonna bail out. I got to go back to work. All right. Let's see here. Yes, I agree. I have been watching all of this since last summer. We were talking on the phone about shortages and increased prices. Yeah. I wonder if the U.S. will see bank runs. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, All Nighter. You guys are the best. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me for the half an hour lunch. And thank you very much for the super chats. Thank you, Scott, for the $10 bill. That was really cool of him to just spin over here and give me that. And all right, Uneducated Economist. You guys let me know.